it there for the moment. Thank you very much indeed. You're going to be hearing a lot about this book. It's actually published at 8 o'clock. It hits the shops. It's available to buy from 8 o'clock this morning. We'll be getting a lot of reaction to it, and of course people watching, their reaction very important to us. Charlotte here at Sky Charlotte, at Eamon Holmes, the tweet addresses, or news@sky.com with your reaction and your questions for the many opinion makers who will be in having their say today. What else is happening, Charlotte?
News on the situation in Iraq and the US combat mission there, which lasted over 7 years and cost more than 4,400 American lives, is officially over. The end was announced by President Obama, who said his country had paid a huge price to put Iraq's future in its people's hands. Our US correspondent Greg Milam has this report from Washington.
Good flights where you land, isn't it? Which they have done. Anyway, you go and brush up on your match-fixing allegations.
Look, it's early in the morning, okay? I just had a little bit of a trouble with that one. I might change the wording for the next time round.
Fair
I'm
point.
sure there's another way of saying it.
In the meantime, I'll flick through the morning. Mr. John Gaunt standing by to bring you the morning newspapers, and there's a lot in those papers, as there is indeed with our programme today, about Tony Blair's autobiography, which hits the shops at 8 o'clock today. John will have his say very shortly. I presume you'll not be buying a copy.
Oh, I'm desperate. I'll be out there fighting for a copy. No, I think like everybody, it's a bit like rubbernecking on a motorway. Most people will read it or read extracts because they are interested to know about the spat between Gordon Brown and Blair, and of course Iraq as well.
Well, let me tell you a bit more about all of those things, because the former Prime Minister and what else is in the papers after this rundown of other news from Charlotte.
And overnight, Barack Obama's announced the end of the US combat mission in Iraq. 7 years after the launch of the war, the president stopped short of declaring victory, but told Americans it's time to turn the page.
OK, on your marks, get set, go. Here comes John Gaunt with what's in the newspapers today. A lot to get through, John. Sure. And John Venables, Jamie Bulger's killer, he's got a girlfriend, a secret girlfriend. He
has, and the Sun are the only newspaper not to lead on their front page with stories about Tony Blair's book. They go with the John Venables story. Venables asked for girlfriend to bring daughter to prison. Evidently, when he was living up in the northwest in Cheshire, before he was returned to prison, he met this woman. She's 30 years old. She's got a 4-year-old daughter. As you know, he was found all this vile child pornography on his computer. He's been sent to prison for 2 years. The woman immediately, she didn't know that he was John Venables, the man who's responsible, along with the other kid, of course, for killing Jamie Bulger. After a one-night stand, according to the Sun, he confessed and told her that who he was. She kept on the relationship with him. A few weeks later, he gets sent back to prison. She breaks off the relationship. Now, in one of these peculiar twists, she started the relationship up again. So she's actually going to visit him. Venables turns around and says, "Can you bring your daughter as well?" Prison authorities said immediately, no, that would not be allowed, thank goodness. But it just shows really how deluded this man is. And he is a man. He's no longer a boy, of course. He's in solitary confinement. They reckon he's putting on weight. All he's doing is watching daytime TV. He's obviously having to be kept in isolation because of what other prisoners might do to him. The whole saga, right from the moment Jamie Bulger was abducted, is a sorry saga. There's no two ways about it. I think it was right they had anonymity when they were children. Not now, though. Okay. This man, we should know who he is and where he is.
John, it's been an amazing year and a half for the Gurkha Regiment and people who are former members of the Gurkha Regiment. What do you make of this story in the Express?
Well, it's a terrible story, this. This is page 4 of the Express. Gurkhas fear the axe for regiment. Obviously, with all these cuts that are going to come in the public sector, the Ministry of Defence is saying nothing's being ruled out. Nick Clegg and David Cameron, they loved getting their picture on all the front pages with Joanna Lumley, didn't they, when they were in opposition. Now, they're not ruling out. They may cut the Gurkhas, mainly because the Gurkhas now, because they've got equal pension, well, not equal pension rights, but equal rights to other serving British soldiers or ex-soldiers, are now too expensive.
They become more
deemed to be too expensive. But fancy announcing this when there's Gurkhas laying down their lives at the moment in Afghanistan. Something should be absolutely clear of the cuts, and I, for one, say that should be the Gurkhas.
There seems to be no honour with a decision like that, or a thought like that.
What, honour amongst politicians? Well. Come on. Come on. That brings us on to Tony Blair.
OK, you've got a cartoon here.
Yeah, well, I was fed up of reading all the stories about him, and I thought really this cartoon in the Times summed it up. It's Tony Blair in front of the Labour battle bus with all the candidates, of course, I presume, for the leadership. The ballot paper's going out today. He's got his book, which is called A Journey. They probably all need travel sickness pills in the back of the bus as well. And basically, it just illustrates, doesn't it, that he still casts this massive shadow over the Labour Party.
Are you surprised he's come out in such stark terms and said, look, basically, me and Gordon Brown didn't get on?
No, I thought he's been waiting, hasn't he, to settle those scores. And he says that Gordon Brown would never have won the election for them and could never win the election for them. Well, most of the British public knew that as well. It's a pity he didn't say some of this before. And I'd imagine a lot of people who've lost relatives in Iraq still want the apology. I don't see him as a war criminal, though, like a lot of the papers. I actually think what we did in Iraq was right. What was wrong was we didn't have an exit strategy.
John, if we look at the front page of the Daily Express, it says today house prices are up by sorry, just get that in 91
quid.
Where is this
a
camera?
day, yeah.
91 pence a day.
Yeah.
It's all this HD confuses me there. But yet, the story that you have in the Daily Mail says the housing market's on the brink of a double dip.
I know, it's really confusing, isn't it? Housing market on the brink of a double dip. The story above that in the Mail, banks forced to write off record levels of family debt on credit cards. I was predicting this a few weeks ago. I was saying this recession hasn't even started. People are surviving on their credit cards. Now £2.1 million has been written off in credit card debts. A lot of people, a lot of ordinary families are going to go bankrupt. Brings us back to Mr Brown to a certain extent. And this double dip in the housing market is very worrying as well. Although, as you say, we're getting each day. There's a different survey. One day house prices are up, next day they're down.
It's worth what you can sell it for, isn't it?
Well, it's like anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
The trouble is, can people afford to buy them? A lot of first-time buyers just can't afford to buy them.
Well, they're now saying first-time buyers won't be able to buy till at least 30, 35. You know, there's got to be a correction in the housing market, and the correction's happening. The danger is this double dip. A lot of people are going to be even more in negative equity.
It's very good listening to you two having a moan there, because if we look at the Daily Telegraph, it tells us that a good moan makes you feel better, particularly if you're elderly.
You should be feeling really good then,
Well,
John.
that's right. I thought I did this one for you, Charlotte, really. I thought you could have a go at me and Eamon. Evidently, I do believe it. A good moan makes elderly feel better. They've got a picture there of Victor Meldrew, of course. What they're saying is when older people moan about younger people, it actually heightens the self-esteem of the older person.
Yes.
Well, kind of, that's not rocket science, is it? It's pretty obvious. But evidently, this is a big study by a load of psychologists at Ohio State University and the university in Germany, basically telling us the flipping obvious, that older people like me and you like to have a good moan about younger people.
But it is comical. I mean, over the weekend I was listening to some teenagers and younger people talking, and the naivety of youth is absolutely incredible.
So you interrupted Jackie and Charlotte, did you? You like that one?
Yeah, I did like that one. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, he walked into it, didn't he?
Thank you very much. You can walk into Mr John Gaunt again in an hour's time. He's back with more stories in the papers. And tweet Charlotte, let her know what you think of John's stories, and if you have anything to ask him, it's at Sky Charlotte. Top stories are these. In his memoirs published this morning, Tony Blair